The highest grossing book of all time and widely considered one of the most influential books on the planet, with magic, romance, and a sinister dark lord bent on destroying the world.
Filled with more talking snakes, faceless demons, and angsty teenagers equipping in their PJs than you can shake a firebolt at.
The series in question resulted in turning its author into a multi-billionaire overnight. In fact, the revenue generated by this book is equal to the top 5 lowest income nations in the entire UN combined.
And if that's not enough to make you spit out your commercially refined Universal Studios brand butterbeer,
then get ready, because today OddlyLogical opens up the Chamber of Secrets and takes on your favorite fictional universe. I'm DeMarcus Real.
And I'm Ellie Abel. And I always figured that one of the best, the most iconic parts has always been Hogwarts itself. Not necessarily the entire universe, but definitely just your experiences at that school. And I always thought that just one of the oddest things was the house points.
Oh, absolutely.
Like they're just arbitrarily giving them out, and it just seems so biased just based on how many times you could say, 10 points to Hufflepuff, although nobody says that. So.
No, I mean, everybody knows Hufflepuff gets no points. It's almost assumed that Hufflepuff isn't really even in the running, but I completely agree with you. When you look at the Hogwarts point system, really any reward system, you assume that there must be some sort of rules or guidelines about how points are awarded. But we see multiple times throughout the series that any professor can award points. Snape, Dumbledore, is notorious for taking away points.
Well, and that begs the question, I know it says in the book there's like this big hourglass thing that has all the different colored gems from all the different houses. First of all, are they real gems because they are sitting on a gold mine? Second of all, how does it determine, because could any student just go, 10 points to Gryffindor? Or is it only certain people? Is it prefects? Is it just teachers? Is it only heads of houses that can do it? Because really, it's Dumbledore, McGonagall, well, I guess Madame Pooch does it too. So I guess it would just be staff.
So, then you say, all Hogwarts staff have the capacity to award points. So, with that in mind, do they have to say it when the student's around? Can they just be in their office?
Be grading papers and go, 5 points to Slytherin. Because that just seems like the teachers would be more competitive with each other than the students would be.
Well, it's entirely, they're not accountable to anybody, and then you have to keep in mind, are there guidelines? Can Snape, as the head of House for Slytherin, award Slytherin points, or is he magically barred from giving his people points, and he can only award them to the other 3 houses?
Well, I think he awards some to Malfoy. I think he does.
Well, in that case, then, wouldn't you be incentivized as an instructor to just continually reward your children for everything? Because, if we can, Dumbledore's proven multiple times that you can award students for just about anything.
It's true.
Even, abstract concepts such as bravery or loyalty. It doesn't actually have to be performance-based. In which case, he could say, Malfoy, you showed up for class today.
Good job. 10 points.
150 points to everyone in Slytherin that showed up.
In which case, that's like 10,000 points. So, really, I feel like they're lowballing the numbers at the end of the House Cup a little bit, because they say, 712 points, and it's like, really? That's all you guys got? If American Hogwarts was a thing, we'd be racking them up into the...
Well, at Hogwarts Community College, everybody would be receiving points just left and right, because everybody in America is a winner. So you would get points for showing up, and then if you didn't pass, you would still get points for trying really hard. Right, for trying really hard, and then of course the honor roll students would get additional points. Then there would be like a special program for individuals who haven't earned a lot of points but really want to earn points.
No wizard left behind.
Right. We would be putting forth initiatives, really only in the British academic system do they decide that, we don't really care.
And it's really a biased system, because it implies that Dumbledore has the ability to, even long after the cup has been awarded, to go through and just arbitrarily give out points, because, how many points you get? 50 points for, winning a Quidditch game. Cool. And then Harry gets 50 points for 150 points for, doing all that shit in
the everything
tournament. So it just seems like they don't really weigh them relatively. But then again, maybe they just they had no precedence for, how many points do we give a dude that just beat the Dark Lord?
Right. There's really, it seems like the point system really doesn't take into account a lot of the things that they actually do, because to me, hey, you fought off 1,000 giant spiders. That's worth more points to me than, well, you didn't abandon your friends in the room that you weren't supposed to be in the first place and then won a chess game. You know, to me, that's of considerably more significance. I mean, that said, I would imagine that they just abolished this system because, you know.
Well, I mean, after like the third book, it's not really relevant anymore.
Well, I would argue that after the third book, everything that happens in Hogwarts.
It's true. After people start dying, that's when
it's true.
becomes-
That's pretty much your milestone for your academic career is
People
once your
die.
class starts dying off. You can pretty much, it's free for all. Like, you would never be able to grade me for anything.
Yeah.
That's,
Hey, 10 points to Gryffindor. Man.
whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Hey.
Well, Cedric's dead.
Yeah, right. Cedric is still dead, so I mean, like, you ever think Hufflepuff tries to cash in on like sympathy
We
points?
didn't get any points for when Cedric died.
Right,
We
like-
don't know what he did. Well, yeah, but
Oh
he's
no!
dead.
Yeah, like no, that's fine. Don't give Hufflepuff the cup this year. Cedric did die.
Nobody in
But
Gryffindor
no, that's
died.
fine. We'll just run a funeral
No,
for the
whatever.
ceremony.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We'll figure it out. Because fuck me, right?
Right, fuck all of Hufflepuff.
Which is fair.
Which is
I
fair.
mean, Hufflepuff, like, realistically, what are you bringing?
I mean, Hufflepuff is supposed to be really impressive. They're the honey badger of Hogwarts. But realistically, it's the place that you go
To die.
To die. It's where you go to not really have a really.
Hufflepuff is a career ender.
It is. I imagine that there's not a lot of really successful Hufflepuffs in the lore.
And I'm sure we're already getting comments right now saying how wrong we are.
Oh, absolutely.
saying
I'm sure that there's 100,000 people already talking about how we have disgraced the Hufflepuff name.
So, and you know, there's all kinds of other things that really Hogwarts does that doesn't make sense to me. Like, you know, you spend all this stuff. First of all, just really quick, this is totally a sidebar, but Harry has been under the cupboard his whole fucking life. Goes to these really shitty, admittedly shitty, but free British schools. And then he gets to go to Hogwarts. And what does he do? Sleeps in every class. If I got a Hogwarts letter, like, I would be like Hermione.
Well, I mean, let's keep in mind that Harry Potter is not really an overly bright individual. I mean, arguably, he is the worst choice for, and I think this is actually a wonderful segue to discuss that Harry Potter is, in fact, the worst choice for the chosen one that you could find. We're talking about a guy who's not really he's not very intelligent. He's not overly gifted with spells. We only see him use a small number of them over the course.
Expelliarmus, Expecto Patronum.
I mean, even the one new spell that we see him learn, he only uses once, and he doesn't even know what it does, and then he never really uses it more than twice, I think.
The
Second Sempra over the entire.
No, I saw what that shit did. I wouldn't use that. That's the cut of it. That like.
I think it's amazing.
Like,
I think that more people should be learning that because why not? But like I said, you know, versus his counterpart, Neville, who's presented as being not really very lucky, but he's definitely driven. He's academically successful. He doesn't really have a lot of friends. He doesn't have a group, and he doesn't really get involved in the adventures that are going on.
I think the difference is that Harry, from the moment that he enters the wizarding world, from the second Hagrid says, "You're a wizard," you know, he's consistently told how special he is, how great his parents were, whereas Neville kind of has to make himself good at what he does, or he has to. I feel like it comes harder for Neville. And that's ultimately what could potentially make him a better wizard, is because he works much harder at it than Harry ever did.
I mean, if you think about it, a lot of Harry Potter's success really comes from the people that he surrounds himself with. He relies very, very heavily on Ron's willingness to kind of throw himself into danger. He relies very heavily on Hermione's ability to kind of assess a situation and find the most logical solution to address it. But he's not actually very gifted at solving it himself. He doesn't really work very hard. Whereas Neville, we see him several times. He goes into the forest with the spiders.
Yeah.
He tries to stop the trio from leaving
Yeah.
the common room. And then in the end, in the final book, you know, he is
He's almost as much of a chosen one as Harry.
Absolutely, he's been leading this kind of underground revolution. The remains of Dumbledore's army.
At the same time, I think though that from the get-go, Harry never had any question of what his role was. He knew from the get. He says it several times, at least in the movies and most definitely in the books. He knows that really all that he is contributing is his portion to play as far as Voldemort goes. Not the Death Eaters, not the safety of the school. He says it several times. He knows what his piece to play in all of it is. Whereas that kind of leaves everybody else to really defend the school and, keep the rebellion alive, while Harry is really just trying to... His battle is much more one-on-one than I think anybody else's is, and I think he knows that right from the get-go, because that's consistently what everybody tells him. You're the one that did this, you were the catalyst for all of this, and it makes sense that if it starts with you, it will end with you, and he embraces that, and that kind of becomes what drives him to find the Horcruxes and, to kind of leave and go off on this potentially solo quest. Of course, Ron and Hermione go with him. Thank God, because that dude would have survived 2 days out by himself.
Not at all.
But I think that he does from the get-go know exactly what his specific piece to play it is, and he doesn't try to kind of deviate from that throughout.
He's not a very good hero.
He's not somebody that people inherently want to follow, or somebody that people inherently trust or think will... I don't, and this might just be me personally, I don't see Harry and go, you will totally succeed, because there is consistently a very large chance that he'll fail.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and we see it multiple times throughout the books that Harry Potter is almost perpetually in danger of failing if it wasn't for the fact that he has these people that stick behind him and work with him to find success and to find... I mean, for example, the year 2 when the Chamber of Secrets opens, many students are petrified. And the only reason that he even finds out how to address this
is Hermione.
Had she not been there, had they not been friends, he never would have been able to stop.
They never would have gone, oh, that's nice.
Right. And I think that is probably one of the most defining characteristics about the Harry Potter lore, is that there's a lot of opportunities for Harry Potter to not be a success, right. to be an almost terrible and catastrophic failure, in that the whole wizarding world could have collapsed had everyone not bought, Dumbledore, Voldemort, the entire Hogwarts staff, his friends, if the people had not all bought into this belief that Harry Potter is the chosen one.
Right.
Without that aura around him, that atmosphere, that public perception, he never would have been successful.
So speaking of that, the Ministry of Magic.
Hate that place. I hate the
DMV of the Wizarding
down with the establishment.
Down with the establishment. So is that like a universal? Because there has to be other places.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think the fact that you only ever hear of 3 schools, one in the north, Durmstrang,
that's a Bulgaria.
Where's Bulgaria on a map?
I think it's south.
South of where?
I don't know. One's in France, one's in England, and then
wherever
the fuck Bulgaria is,
that place right there.
I feel like it's in near Italy.
Well, you know what? It's not near the British Ministry of Magic. It's not near that at all.
So do they have their own governing bodies, or do they all? Because we all as Muggles don't really fall under one ministry. Every nation has their own government, so feasibly it would be the same for
right.
The Wizarding.
Well, and when you think about it, it's hard to imagine even a combined government
outside of the realm of Britain. How big of a threat is Voldemort? Because he doesn't really go international. You don't hear about. Well, Boris Karloff is a Death Eater, but that's
Fair.
Really you don't. Would Hogwarts Community College be scared of Voldemort?
Probably not. I imagine that the people at Hogwarts Community College are probably not too worried about what's going on across the pond.
Because they all carry guns.
Well, it's America, so of course everyone in America has guns.
That's true.
And I think that probably the other ministries don't consider Voldemort a threat, because while the British, wizards and witches, they definitely consider Voldemort to be the biggest evil of their time. he's never really portrayed as being a global force.
No.
You don't ever hear. I mean, he does exert some degree of influence
like
in both
Western
areas,
Europe.
where he manages to, kill the Durmstrang headmaster. And they kind of talk about how his influence is felt a little bit in France, but you don't really ever hear about him having a omnipresence across the globe.
Which is a damn shame, because I feel like he's really missing an opportunity.
He is. I mean, imagine if he really branched out and took on the world and really garnered some of these, Somalia, a whole bunch of Mogadishan wizards just running around,
with AKs and wands,
just driving in these like giant broomsticks with 50 cows welded to the back. Like that's the kind of people that he should want to go for.
It's gone. I can't remember.
Completely gone. Which brings us to a
Yeah.
perfect, not so perfect, but I'm going to pretend that it's perfect, segue into the fact that the entire Wizarding world operates under a totalitarian dictatorship. You don't ever hear...
Wow.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call it like I see it.
Segue.
We are talking about a government that doesn't really have any checks and balances. You don't hear about any cabinet or individuals that vote on legislation. You don't ever really hear about elections, really being conducted.
There's only one form of media.
Right. There's only one form of media that's owned by the government.
Let's be honest,
nobody reads it.
That's bullshit. Nobody reads that. It's nonsense.
I mean, you don't hear about elections. You don't hear about, even their version of due process is flawed, because it's just a number of individuals that are just staff. They're just the Wizengamot. They're just miscellaneous staff from the ministry who were selected to be on this board. I mean, they're not even necessarily qualified to practice law. You don't hear about anyone.
Well, no, because they don't teach law at
right. There's only one school, so theoretically you just decide that I do really well in my newts, so I'm going to become a ministry employee, and then you get in good with the minister, and boom, next thing you know, you're on the Wizengamot, sending people to ask him.
I could do that. God forbid there was ever a time when the whole world, the Muggle world, knew, because they would never integrate successfully into
No.
society,
Well,
which is really the expectation that we would have, because, we'd shoot them all if they decided that they were going to try to conquer the Muggle world.
Well, I think that there's a reason why. I think that I don't know if they ever address it in the book, so if they do, please put in the comments below. But I think that, probably one of the main reasons why they don't is kind of, you hear about a lot of like vampire novels and things like that, where they talk, these immortal beings are talking about how they try to keep quiet, because even though that on an individual level they are more powerful than normal people, they have their limits, and so as humanity advances technologically more and more, wizards find themselves unable to really keep up in terms of what they can do. If you drop a nuclear bomb on Hogwarts,
I'm pretty sure I could shoot one of them in the face before they
right.
could
The chances are that mankind could overwhelm a wizarding army before the wizarding army ever actually was successful.
Is staggeringly high. We would do it.
I think the bigger fear for the Muggle Prime Minister is really that
on an individual level.
Right, on an individual level, the people of Britain are not prepared to fight against the Death Eaters.
Fuck that.
Honestly, I would say fuck all of it. All that. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Harry Potter is a wonderful, wonderful series. I love it. I love it to death. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, but there are a lot...
The reality of living in that world is very different from what the books portray it to be, I think.
Right, which personally, I think that our job here at OddlyLogical is to work to establish some continuity and some realism for the Harry Potter world. Because of how much of an impact it had on I know, my childhood.
Yeah, me too. I grew up reading those books.
So I think that, from now on, I think that we'll release regular content to really address and see, establish what we think the Wizarding world is or is not like. And who knows, maybe the great Witch herself, J.K. Rowling, might one day step in and answer some of our questions. Right. But either way, that's all the time we have for today. Be sure to tell us what you think in the comments section below.
Also, be sure to check us out at the Digital Cool Kids table on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I will go ahead and leave links in the description below, and also use those mediums to go ahead and chime in on anything that you think we missed, that you'd like to see, or any issues that you guys may have had with what we talked about today.
We're really loving all of the feedback that we're getting from you guys. I know that I don't know how long it's been for all of you, but I know that it's been a long time.
Yeah, it's
for us.
been a very long time coming. We're very happy to be doing this.
So,
until next time, Oddballs, please just remember, it doesn't have to be right, it just has to make sense. And until next time, stay cool.
bye.
Bye.